All right, what is going on, guys? My name is Adam, and this is Marfoogle News. SpaceX launches its Starship rocket for the third time. Now, if you watched this historic event, it is pretty nuts. I know that we have, of course, people divided on what is really going on in the next 5 years. But what is being stated is that they're going to bring 1 million people to Mars, and the original date was 2029. In the next 5 years, Elon is saying that he is going to get a select few up to Mars. So we're going to talk about that today. On top of that, we have, of course, hypersonic missiles in the hands of Houthis. This is obviously not good if it is true. What is happening across the planet? We're going to talk about that. There are at least 4 sets of countries that are going at it, and it looks like we're right on the precipice of World War III. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. You'll see what's in you. Clear all the shelves, then next venue.
Well, dad, some bullets and the people trying to end you. First thing that drops into the windows. At Target, Walmart, trying to get Nintendos. Carry out your spy, let me get to bed.
All right, so we're going to actually have a conversation here, and we're going to get into the serious stuff. And, of course, as always, if you don't like scary movies, then don't watch scary movies. We usually, first off, we try to start in with the, less scary stuff. But right now, this is news from a prepper standpoint. Myself and many others are prepping for what we believe is kind of an imminent event. And as far as this goes, it's not the end of the world, in my opinion. I believe that it is the beginning of the new one. Unfortunately, I believe that they are changing things all around. I think that there are several evolutions happening right now, not only with humans, but with technology, and of course with countries and the geopolitical power that they hold. So we're going to talk about that. But first off, yesterday or in the last 72 hours, all of the talk about the SpaceX launch. Now, if you've seen the SpaceX launch, whether you believe or not, whether you like Elon or not, it is a really insane thing that we have so many distractions around that, say, if this was 1969 or something like this, everybody would be huddled around their TV, or in this case, a computer, watching it. But there are plenty of people that had no idea this even happened. This is launching a massive skyscraper-size object into space, and supposedly one of the first that is going to be one of many that is going to bring up to 1 million people up to Mars by 2029 or 2030. So this is really insane. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine, but this actions that are going on with space right now and these massive rockets that we're launching certainly makes you question, like, what's happening and why. Not just, it's not just about putting up some bunch of satellites so we can all have internet when we're going down the road. There's got to be a much bigger reason behind this.
Yeah, and this thing's visible from across the border. I mean, this thing is so massive. We looked it up the Friday or the other day when this was first being talked about. Everybody was chattering about this, and it's like 400 feet or something with the booster and everything on it. It is absolutely massive, but the actual BFR, as he used to call it, the big friggin' rocket, and he used it in other words, the Starship now dubbed, is giant on its own. This is supposed to be taking humans to Mars at some point, or at least to the moon, then to be launched to Mars. And there's a bigger conversation here about what do we actually think is going on here. Now, everybody has a side theory and everybody has their own crazy theories. And honestly, it's like a taboo to talk about this stuff because people are afraid to be judged by their friends and family. Or if you have told your friends and family, they think you're cuckoo. First of all, the more problems that they show us today makes it even harder to believe that we did this with a moon lander that literally had a computer, that computer was as strong or as powerful as what we have now in a happy birthday card that opens up and sings to you. That little microchip in that card that makes it sing is as powerful as the computer was in the original moon landing. That moon lander, that's how powerful the computer was. So it makes you really doubt, so why are they even having problems today if we did this 4, 5, 6 decades ago, right? Or 70 to 20, 50 years, 5 decades ago, we already did this, and now it is such a problem. What's even crazier, even if you don't believe in the previous time, you may actually believe, well, they're doing it now. Or maybe you don't. Again, I know that there's a division here, but as far as the majority, they're looking at this and going, holy crap, we are going to the moon and to Mars. If this is true, then this is absolutely nuts. But again, most of us probably will never ever get to go. That is because most of us believe there is something up with this. First of all, you have all of the most richest, connected people building bunkers, preparing, stocking up on things. You have whole countries now trying to grab their neighbors and grab as much land as possible, almost as if land and that will be in the future one of the most powerful things, because who knows, maybe not all land that is right now above ground will be above ground. There's theories about a massive flood that could happen from something hitting us, an asteroid that hits the ocean and changes the whole layout of the planet. There's rumors of the weather getting so bad that essentially the world goes to crap. If you believe mainstream science right now, which most of you probably question, they are telling us that it's the end of the world in different ways. In fact, the accepted fact on both sides in some cases is that the weather is going to get so bad and that the planet is dying, and that basically we have a certain amount of time before the whole thing will collapse. The world in itself is like it's as far as a biosphere, this self-contained thing, if you looked at it from outside of it, it's a very fragile system if certain things do go wrong. It's not as fragile as we think it is, or at least, it's not fragile as far as it's been around and it's done this many times. But if we live through one of these kind of cycles, is it going to be very bad? Many of us believe it will be. And who knows what they're actually, talking about behind closed doors. But we do know there is something being said behind closed doors, and the people that have a peek behind that closed door are all getting prepped for something we don't know what it is. So it's really crazy to think about that. Of course, people have different theories. I would love to ask you guys, what do you think? As far as there's some that believe that we've been on the moon, and not only are we on the moon, they believe since then the reason why we haven't gone back is because they've actually set up base there. They have barracks up there. They have all sorts of stuff on the backside of the moon. And they kind of give us this rigmarole and tell us that there's nothing up there and that we haven't been back, when in reality, this is one reality, that they actually have it all set up there. We do know China is set up now. They have something on the backside of the moon, or at least they say they do. Or do you believe that the original one wasn't the real deal, but this is? And if that's the case, how is it that not every single person around the planet? You would think this would be like one of those movies where they show the whole world in every country with clocks of every time frame. Everybody's sitting at their computer watching this launch, because this is history in the making. Again, there's rumors and chatter that have been going out for now 2 years, but especially in the last few months, about this being an actual evacuation mission. Have you heard about this? And have you heard, of course, there's been, public comments, and Elon himself is a doomsday believer. But some of the Fugel fam and some of the folks that we've talked to, they actually believe 100% that this is the beginning of an evacuation plan for Earth. That this is going to take a select few up to Moon and to Mars because something is about to happen to Earth. Now, I'm not saying that this is absolutely what I believe, but it does kind of line up with what some of my side theories are, that maybe they know about something that's going to hit us, like an asteroid, or maybe they know about something that they're going to do, or maybe they're prepping for something that's inevitable. I don't know. Or maybe they're just getting prepped just in case. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat below. Dex, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Some of these things sound so crazy, but look at what's happening right now. They have this thing that is, and they're able to re-land the bottom part of it. And people, tons of our Fugel fam have gone to this in person and seen this thing happen. They say it's quite a show. To the naysayers, they say, oh, well, they probably have screens up and they're doing, blue beam or something. But one thing is for sure, we've talked to hundreds of people that have gone to these events. They go down and they go to Boca Chica, or they go somewhere else and they go watch this stuff. And they say it's an amazing show. We're talking about people that watch this in person. And they say it's so much bigger than you think.
Yeah, I agree. Look, you got to look at why all of a sudden is there this massive rush to space. It used to be NASA controlled it. They worked with Roscosmos and others, and there was, just a whole bunch that just, they did the ISS. They ran the space shuttles for a while. But then all of a sudden, and it was sort of on a slow grind. And then all of a sudden we have this massive push to space, and they open it up to commercialization. Some may say, well, because they opened it to commercialization, everything moved fast. But they opened it to commercialization for a reason, because they needed to move fast. So why did they need to move fast? What is the real reason behind this quick movement that's been going on for the last decade or more to get to space in a much, much bigger way than we have for the last 60 years? If we say we went to the moon, a long time ago, why hasn't it been a big priority since then?
And another thing is that barely anybody knows that there are dozens and dozens of other companies just like Elon's. There are private companies that are launching rockets all the time. They're even revamping old launch pads and basically renting them out to other companies. There's tons of companies launching things into space. And it reminds me of a scene out of, say, the movie Greenland, where, all of a sudden they don't tell the public, but they already started flying people off to a secret lottery of people that will restart the planet after some sort of emergency. They're loading up seeds. They say that they're basically taking a Noah's Ark of seeds and DNA to the moon and burying it down in the mountains. All of these things I've talked about for years. It makes you think about all of the things that ended up being theories online and that never went to sleep. Most of the things that ended up being true were the things that never ended up dying online. The theories that continually had a following, the theories that people just said, nope, this makes sense, this something isn't right here. A lot of these theories have come true. We've actually there's a great video I should share on my Twitter of a gentleman going through all of the theories that just over the last 4 or 5 years they said were theories that have now become true. There's lots of examples of them. From 3-letter agencies being involved to JFK to 2001 to other things that ended up being confirmed later on that people would not let go. And most of the time when there's a huge number of people and they will not let go of something, usually there's some sort of truth to it. So what do you think it is? Let me know in the comments below, and let's do a roll call right now. Just a quick, general state or province, wherever you're at. Represent. You'll find other Foogle fam members and other Marfia immediately that you can find people that you have something in common with. We've got Stevie J. Blue from Tasmania and Comet Moon from OHIO. We've got Ohio in the house. Brian Loves Bacon. Hello from Arizona, Dolan Springs. We've got Space Monkey in the house. We've got Doc Holliday, 1776. We have Bremerton, Washington in the house. John Hurd, nice to see you. We have Katy, Texas. Solid Ghetto. What is going on? Billy Jacks, Wild America from South Texas. We have Austin, Texas in the house. Michael Stewart. Howdy from Bryan, Texas. We got every city in Texas here. Hello from New Zealand. Rice-haired Cameron. We've got James McGowan from Sandpoint, Idaho. We've got Philadelphia. That's actually pretty good. And somebody says, are the people that eat people allowed to go to Mars? Probably not. I don't know though. If there's a million people up there, I guess they would have food for a while. Blop Jones, Smokey Joe, Murphy NC, nice to see you. And the Salt Laker, Jasmine Berserker, we've got from Lawrenceville, Georgia, beautiful place. Kansas, thank you from Boise, Newport, Rhode Island, and Hillsboro, Ohio. Not to forget Red State, Michigan, Joseph, thank you, and Anthony James, Valerie from California, LAPD SWAT, Beans and Frank from FEMA Region 8, or was that 7? And then Hollywood, California, Be Real Beast, nice to see you. And Garage Fly Radio from Milo, Maine. I'm so thankful for everybody that made it to the show today. And thank you guys for being patient and being ported over from Marfoogle News. Or I'm sorry, Marfoogle News. So from Boca Chica, again, give us your comment down below. What do you think about them going to Mars in 5 years from now? What do you think? Do you think that they are evacuating Earth? And if you have information on this, this is my other call out. Call to action. And this is something I do believe I would share even if I wasn't supposed. If you have solid information, any kind of thing that somewhat verifies that, let me know. Even if I can't share it, please let me know. I would love. It's been something on the back of my mind for years now. About specifically, is this an evacuation of Earth? Let me know. We did get one prior call of a woman that we've vetted that actually had an incredible position that did finances, that did the approval of finances, and she had things go across her desk that was specific to a Class 2 gas giant and cleanup of space debris. But the amount of money it was so absorbently over the top that it wasn't something that would just be like a satellite falling from Earth. It would be like Earth falling on a satellite. It was absolutely nuts. And it was debris from a Class 2 gas giant. That was the kind of thing, like when we got that information, that was insane. And I still think it actually holds true. I think there was something going on. From Oumuamua, the interstellar visitors, things that come from the sun's direction. What do you think it is? Let me know in the comments down below. And then report claims Yemen's Houthis have a hypersonic missile, possibly raising the stakes in the Red Sea crisis. Dex, so I guess it's the delivery vehicle, but them having a hypersonic missile is not good because I believe that's because they're not really you can't really defend against them, right?
Well, allegedly they have a lot of speed. Well, not allegedly. That's the whole point. Hypersonic has a lot of speed. Allegedly they have them, but the real question is, can they target? And would they even use this at a ship? Are they going to look at this for something else? And if that's the case, what might they target with a hypersonic? Would they target a land location? Maybe someplace in Israel? Would they do something even worse, like try to damage the canal or something? Although I don't think that would benefit them at all. it would hurt them just as much as the rest of the world. So I guess that's one of the questions I would ask, or when I'm thinking about this, what comes to mind is, if this is true, if they have it, what are they going to do with it? And if it's anything like they've done with the other attacks they've done on ships, they haven't been very successful. Now they've hit plenty, and they've been successful at stopping traffic from flowing through, because everybody goes, well, it's dangerous, I don't want to be the one that might get hit. But their success rate at actually hitting a target has been pretty poor. Like, most of it misses, plenty of it gets intercepted, and very few of it actually does strike. And only a couple times have we seen it strike in a big enough way that they had to abandon ship or something significant. So that's what I think about. The other thing I question is, where did they get it from? Like, who gave it to them? Who has hypersonics and gave it to them? And obviously they're backed by Iran, and obviously Iran is partnered with Russia and China, and we know Russia and China have them. We also know that North Korea said, hey, we have them too now. We assume that they got them from Russia. So maybe that's the path: Russia to Iran to the Houthis. So I think those are the questions that come to my mind. What do you think, Adam?
Well, so as far as, can a ship defend against this, right? Again, okay, first of all, from what I've covered, right, they say that the U.S. has problems defending against hypersonic missiles, or if they truly are like that, they don't even have a perfect success rate of regular nuclear missiles, like a conventional, what do you call the old school, I'm blanking on it, just a regular missile,
like a surface to sea missile.
No. I'm saying specifically because the hypersonic can also apply to a nuke, right? So the regular nukes, they why am I not thinking of the word?
Ballistic missiles?
Ballistic missiles. So they don't even have a perfect record of knocking those out of the sky, let alone if these hypersonics. Does that not mean, they can shoot a lot of stuff out of the sky, but if they target this at, say, a aircraft carrier, even if the radar catches it and everything, would they be able to stop this? What if they knock out a U.S. Destroyer or something? Would that not escalate this immediately? Could this be a Fantastic Freddy to set something up to really hit it home? If we lose, hundreds of sailors all of a sudden, it's going to be a global catastrophe. I mean, it's going to be instant escalation. So what are they going to do with that hypersonic missile, and why do they even have it? Like you said, that means they've acquired it. That means they had some sort of meaning, like, we're going to give you one of these. We want you to use it. We've talked about, like, say, somewhere like North Korea being the one who, if we ever have a nuke launched, that says somebody would, like, North Korea would launch a nuke, because if we were to retaliate, we would have to retaliate against North Korea. And maybe they work something out where Kim Jong-un and his family go somewhere else, and they've got a seat at the table somewhere else after we destroy their entire country. With the Houthis, they're a smaller group. Maybe one of the bigger countries says, hey, here, Houthis, you put this hypersonic missile and destroy a destroyer or something. Let alone, I wonder, could they put a tactical nuke on on this hypersonic missile? Dex, go ahead.
Well, going back to who made them, it could actually be Iran that's made them. They've actually claimed, too, that they've built hypersonics. I think we talked about that as well in the past. Their claims, we haven't seen some of them. But the real thing is, the other thing to consider, these are going to be expensive. They're not cheap. They're not like the drones they send over. They're not like the cheaper surface-to-sea missiles that they've been firing, indiscriminately towards ships. So they're not going to want, they probably don't have a stockpile of hypersonics. They probably have, if they even have any, they might have one or two, they might have a handful at best. And at that point, they're also expensive. So they're not going to want to waste them on something that they can't actually hit. So I think, and I also would think that if they do have something advanced from Iran or Russia, that it probably has decent targeting systems on it, so it could hit its target, as opposed to what they're using now, which has just been, pretty poor. Well,
and I also think I thought it was kind of the timing, just like last week or something, that North Korea sent 6,700 containers to Russia. They don't really truly know what was in it. What if North Korea sent some to Russia that, probably the U.S. government and every other government is watching these being tracked, and then one of those containers got thrown over to them, so Russia doesn't have to take the blame for giving it to them or something. I don't know. I just thought of that. The 6,700 containers, did they track all of them? Did some of those go somewhere else? How do they move this stuff around? I mean, obviously by train and other ways. How did the Houthis get it? That's the big question. And then Dex, cover Oman. America held secret talks with Iran this year in a bid to quell Yemen's Houthi Red Sea attacks on ships and raise concerns over Tehran's expanding nuclear program.
So apparently we've been having these secret talks with them. We were doing it in Oman ever since the event went down and they started firing. Now, the question, and we'll hit on it a little bit later in the show, is what were we negotiating for, or is there possibly something we were negotiating with Iran for? I know that their nuclear ambitions have been one of the things that we've wanted. Obviously, the main talk here is to get them to stop the Houthis and get them to stop funding and or tell them to just literally stop shooting at ships going through the Red Sea and the Gulf there. But having aside from that, which is the obvious ask, there's got to be something in it for Iran, and that's the real question. And I know that there's been ongoing discussions about the nuclear program they have ongoing. We want them to stop. Others want them to stop. But the fact that we've been having these secret talks with them is, to some, is very eye-opening. And the real question is, what was happening within them?
Yeah, and is there some shady backdoor deals being done, Fantastic Freddy's being set up, and so on? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. One Out B, thank you for the diamond. Says, for the family, much needed hugs and love. Kimbria, thank you. And One Out B, thank you for showing up at every show. I appreciate you. Thanks, Marf and crew. Carrie Ray, thank you so much for popping in. Over on D-Live, all of you guys are great. Thank you, Chance, for modding as well. Nettie RB4IO. I think that's Nettie Radio. I think that's a very tricky way of spelling it there. That was smart. From upstate New York here. Love you all. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. And that was on the video end of TikTok in the world. Thank you for anybody that ends up doing a super thanks. I from the user point of view, I don't even know how to do that myself. So thank you guys. I do appreciate it. And again, it's kind of like super chat, but after the show's over. So thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you. And then let's see. Oh, and then Craig Alicious, I did want to say a quick thank you to you as well. Thank you guys for supporting our independent channel. Meat Puppet 007 says, quote, the elites are trying to get to the moon for the same reason they built bunkers. They're trying to hide from the wrath of the Lamb. Shout out to the mods. Meat Puppet 007, I don't think they could get far enough. Grace for you too. I think if God's coming back, I'm pretty sure he's more on a galactic level. Grace for you too. Thank you so much. And Craig Alicious, again, thank you. Terrible Truth, again, thank you for your support yesterday. I appreciate that. Thank you. Dex. Also, let's talk about Iran and the Biden administration. Before you do that, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. You can, of course, find over there at marfugglenews.com/EMP. You can get yourself an EMP shield that will protect you against not only a solar event, a Carrington level event, but you can also get something that will protect your cars, trucks, motorcycle, and boats against EMP from an adversarial country. So that's again at marfugglenews.com/EMP. They also have the device available for the Flex 1500, so make sure to go check that out as well. All right, and Let's see here. Dex, Biden administration under pressure to stop billions of dollars in sanctions relief to Iran. People are not too happy about this.
No, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about a moment ago. Is this part of the discussion? So what they're talking about potentially is extending a month's sanctions waivers to Iran, and that would give them an extra 10 billion of money funneled into their coffers. A lot of people have questioned why Iran has had so much money under this current administration, whereas in the prior administration, they were starved quite a bit through the sanctions. And this time, this go around with our administration, they're not starved. They're flush with cash. And we've done lots of things to make sure they got cash. So I think that's a big question a lot of people have is if they are funding and supporting all of the organizations throughout the East that are causing some of the problems, especially the Houthis, even Hezbollah, and even the fact that the Hez comes over through Venezuela and potentially into America, why are we funding them? Why are we giving all this money to them? Why are we doing anything that helps them get this money? Anyway, I think that we have to think about this secret meeting they just had and to what extent that conversation was, hey, we will give you something if you will get the Houthis to stop. And is this what they were going to give them? I don't know.
Yeah, give them more money. That will help the issue. Help them get money. Yeah. And then out of Langley, Trump launched CIA covert influence operation against China, which I'm sure there's a chunk of you that are like, right on. Instead of, I guess, a lot of people are talking about how some weren't infiltrating China. They were, I don't know, taking payments. But 2 years into office, President DT authorized a Central Intelligence Agency to launch a clandestine campaign on Chinese social media aimed at turning public opinion in China against its government, according to former U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the highly classified operation. 3 formal officials told Reuters that the CIA created a small team of operatives who used bogus internet identities to spread negative narratives about Xi Jinping's government while leaking disparaging intelligence to overseas news outlets. The effort, which began in 2019, has not been previously reported. So this is super weird, right? I wonder, where is the angle on this? So first of all, they say a small team. Realize China has an army, an actual separate army from their physical army, 1 million strong, in cyber, just people that are literally paid and on the army docket to be online. They understand that controlling information is controlling the world. If you control the narrative, you control the real world scene. They have 1 million people that they could say, hey, go make this viral. And they can have 1 million people share it with their 1 million fake accounts. And boom, you've got something that gets attention over everything and anything else. I mean, think about how many views or regular things get. If something immediately gets 1 million views, it's going to go viral. If 1 million people even share things randomly with just whoever on Twitter, even if they have no followers, they will get seen. That thing will trend. So you're able to actually put an idea in people's heads with that. T-Man, I don't know if they're going to end up like somehow saying that this is because of how things went south. I'm sure they're going to end up saying that, it's his fault for something because he did this. But he took a small team of people who basically put out a narrative. Doesn't sound like a huge thing, but I wonder. I mean, like, it's kind of crazy. During the past decade, China has rapidly expanded its global footprint, forging military pacts, trade deals, and business partnerships with developing nations. The CIA team promoted allegations that members of the ruling CP were hiding ill-gotten money overseas and slammed as corrupt and wasteful China's Belt and Road Initiative. So, by the way, everybody says that China is like about to collapse, right? I've been saying for years, they have more money, and they probably have hidden money. They're not telling us all of the numbers. Heck, when they don't want to tell us something, they just hide it. They didn't report like their second quarter last year or something. They just didn't report it. So like they ended up reporting it later, I'm sure, once they've like fixed all the numbers. But people assume that the world all watches over the rest of the world and everybody keeps everybody in check. But China can hide whatever they want. Same with any other country, especially if they're not on our network. Dex, what did you think when you saw this? It's like he put a small team together to basically to get Chinese to turn against their leader.
Well, aside from the hit piece angle of the people releasing the information, not wanting to say if it was continued, just wanting to make sure it was clearly done under the previous administration. And I don't know to what extent that makes him look bad or makes him look good, one way or the other. But they certainly want to stick it to him and not stick it to the current one. But isn't this what that organization does? I mean, don't they do this stuff all the time? And they even do it to ourselves, like to Americans. They do it to Americans. They do it to every other country. They're not just about getting intelligence as much as they're about pushing out information in this information warfare, so to speak, right?
Are we supposed to feel bad for China? Like I guess most people would read this and go, right on. Like, yeah, they deserve that. What is he being accused of? Starting a team to spread. They'll look at it and go, look, he's lying. He's hiring a team to lie. That's what CIA does. That's called spying. Like that's what they've done forever.
It wasn't his idea either. I mean, let's face it. The president didn't sit there and say, "Give me the Central Intelligence Group. I've got an idea for them." No, somebody lobbied it all the way up from somewhere mid-level to a higher level to a higher level to it finally got to the president and said, "Hey, we need you to sign off on this great idea we have." And he looked at it and says, "Hey, it's a good idea. Go for it." I mean, yes, he has to sign off on it, not trying to take away his responsibility for it, but don't give him enough credit to say he's the only one that thought of it. There's somebody like 3 levels down that came up with this whole idea and put it together.
And by the way, I'm not trying to be pro one or the other. I favor Donald over JB. But if JB did this and I found this out, I would be like, yeah, that's a good thing. Oddly enough, you don't see much of this coming from the JB administration. You don't see a lot of it. But at the same time, right now, it's like everybody calls him Beijing, JB. But at the same time, we're led to believe that he's going to defend Taiwan and go in there. And he's talking about how China's infiltrating. But everybody knows, if you've seen all of the back end stuff, especially, laptop stuff and all this other stuff, it's like the guy had connections. He's gotten money from them. So it makes us very confused on what's actually happening right now. Who's in whose pocket? Who's really an enemy of an enemy? Who's friends? Who's playing both sides? Who's a double agent? It's getting confusing at this point. And then Philippines Marcos to meet Blinken next week as South China Sea tensions rise. So this is not something China likes to see, but Marcos is to meet Blinken next week as South China Sea tensions rise. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will meet the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on March 19th to tackle cooperation and security matters, the Office of Manila Leader said in a statement late on Wednesday night. Their meeting comes at the heels of heightened tensions between the Philippines and China. Of course, the hosing of their Coast Guard ships and of course the injured sailors that ended up getting injured by the Chinese Coast Guard spraying said hoses. But it said Marcos also vowed to defend Philippines' maritime claims after Chinese President Xi Jinping called on armed forces to coordinate preparations for military conflicts at sea. So Xi Jinping directly told his people to prepare the Navy. They're he's straight up telling them for the last 3 years, like, hey, we're going to be going to war. Now they're actually saying prep your Navy right after we deploy 5 carriers to the South China Sea. It's like people are still in the dark on this. I don't get it. And then we have Venezuela. Americans warned to brace for the second wave of Venezuelan gangsters coming over the border as country's prisons or at least 100 inmates are released. Now, I'm going to direct you over to our other video because you guys really got to go over there and see it. We went into detail, and many of you came from that video. If you want to watch that video, highly recommend going over and checking it out. But again, the Venezuela angle, Venezuela is connected to Iran. It's connected to it's connected to all these different places. All of our adversaries are connected with Venezuela. Venezuela, of course, did a vote to actually take over Guyana, and they haven't done it yet, but they've basically taken a vote, and it passed. So if they want to start taking them over, they've done the legal framework to do so. And Venezuela, of course, has had a lot of strange events, like they had a nationwide blackout that grid down. They had hyperinflation, and now they say that tons of refugees are coming in from Venezuela. And they say that chunks of them are from this extremely connected to ISIS gang, Tren de Aragua, and that these guys are even going as far as waiting to get their tattoos or getting their tattoos removed to get over the border, and then they're going to do something here. Like there's something planned. That's why they're pointing out to you that they had connections with ISIS. So this could be a big deal, whether you believe it's orchestrated or it's BS. Either way, it could be set up for a Fantastic Freddy, or it could be set up for a real thing, and this country's actually going to do something really bad to us. This is at a time where we've been told to expect nationwide events and nationwide attacks. So not good to say the least.
Well, even at a micro level, Adam, it is happening to us. I mean, take the family in Georgia at UGA, where the girl was perished going for a run. That turned out to be somebody who actually has ties to one of those gangs. So even those, I won't call them isolated because there's a lot of them, but they're individualized incidences that have happened. Those have an effect on the American population because when you add them up, there's a lot.
Oh, and they're not covering a lot of certain things. My aunt just showed me, it was a post, and people went through and dug through prison systems. There were all these horrible crimes, and they were actually writing the people's specific color in as a different color to hide the fact or the stat that it was certain things. Like they're doing things to creatively hide issues. I'll just say that. And then South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, and the Ivory Coast hit by major internet outages. So all of these areas got hit again, and it's like this is on the heels of the Houthis just recently supposedly took out underwater sea cables. There's been cyber events here in the U.S. Now they're saying that they had this major outage. Dex, what actually caused the outage, though?
Well, they're actually not sure yet, at least at the time of this article. They don't have an idea. They did say that it looks like it's been sweeping through, so it could be, potential sign of a cyber event, but we don't know. We don't really know for sure. And honestly, we might have a better chance of hearing some truth out of these countries, but I don't know. I don't know if we really will. I don't even think we hear the truth when it comes to any of these other events that happen about what, really went down. Yeah, there certainly is. But look, they had the internet along the Ivory Coast got down to just 4%. The traffic was congested down to only 4% being able to get through. Some other countries were down to only 25%, 17%, and 14%. Like Ghana was 25%. So those are huge drops. It's not like just having a small percentage drop and the internet's slow and it's only working about 85% is efficient. This is 4% efficient. So that's super, super slow, super congested, and pretty much down for most people. And that's what they were seeing.
Yeah. So, and mind you, so I would love to hear some of your theories on there's got to be a bigger picture here. Is this practice for something else? They said in one point here, it said it says the cause of the cable failures is not immediately clear. So did something get cut? Was there a physical attack? Were they practicing doing a certain event and knocking out internet? Is this a physical attack that they practiced and saw how it affected? And is the next one, obviously we're in this couple weeks of all of these threats hitting the United States. Was this just practice? Were they they deal with a lot of the same systems, a lot of the same technology. Are they trying to test on how to take down internet with physical attacks? Don't know. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
They're saying, I've just noticed also that they said in Ghana and Liberia, they were suggesting it was submarine cables that were causing some of their problems, especially on the Ivory Coast. So I wonder if there's some cable disruptions under the water as well. But
so
yeah, we'll find out more. They'll at least be able to identify what happened. They may not be able to tell us who did it.
So are they cutting cables? Are they cutting underwater cables? Are they practicing that? Are they is this just like a drill for them for cutting the European cables from the US and Europe? And then before we talk about North Korea, do want to remind you, if you don't have food, if you're trying to get 3 months, 6 months, 9 months of food, this is a really, really great resource for you. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. You'll get anywhere from $60 to $200 off, depending on the package, for a 3-month supply or a 1-month supply. Again, depends on when you watch this video. I know that some of you have been watching old videos. If you're watching the replay, go check for current deals. But you always get a huge discount with marfooglenews.com/prep. You don't even need a code. It's already built in. When you go through that, of course, you can go get yourself 25 plus year shelf life food, and you'll help our independent media at the same time. So I appreciate all of you guys that have done that. But otherwise, again, this is good for earthquakes, hurricanes, floods. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It could be any regional disaster that this is going to help you and your family get through it. So not only that, it could be good for hyperinflation. If something happens tomorrow where eggs are $4,000 each, yeah, it'd be a lot easier to eat this than go to the store. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the 3-month kit, and it's that big $200 off, which is one of their biggest deals. So make sure you guys go look. And they have the 72-hour kit. Both of those are the specials right now.
All right, and again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. And we have Kim Jong-un drives new type tank during drills and calls for efforts to prepare for war. We're so desensitized to this kind of stuff that people don't even, this goes in one ear and goes out the other for most. I think a lot of us, a lot of the preppers in this community, we're looking at this and we're just kind of like saying, what day is this going to end up popping off? I think they've done a really good job of not having the whole world go into a cataclysm yet, but I know most of us are kind of just feeling blessed that it hasn't happened already. But if you look at the general situation, it's not getting better. It's only getting worse. There's more countries involved, and now you have kind of land grabs involved with multiple countries. Looks a whole lot like it did right before World War II. Different times, different scenarios, but almost the same kind of result is looking like what's going to happen. But yeah, the North's tank training was seen as a response to the annual 11-day South Korean U.S. military drills that are to end later Thursday. The North views it as a rehearsal for invasion, which it is. That's what they say it is, even. So yeah. And then Dex, Hungary. U.S. envoy warns over Hungary close and expanding links with Russia. Called it.
So here we go again. Yeah. So we were just talking about them yesterday, right? I mean, and we were talking about the fact that they rolled out Chinese police there. And now the team that was there, as they call it, the U.S. envoy, has come back and saying that they're expanding their relationship with Russia. So this is a NATO member. This is an ally to the West who has now partnered with China for policing and is expanding its relationship with Russia. And and they were also the holdout on Sweden for the longest time until they could get their jets. So it very much they're painting a picture, at least with the messaging that they're putting out in the media right now. They're painting a picture that Hungary may not be as much of an ally as we think they are. And it'll be interesting to see how long they actually sustain their membership. I don't know what the process is, or if there's any way for them to kick them out should they, cross a line. If this kind of behavior is acceptable, to be part of the group of nations that is allied against Russia and to some extent against China, being in bed with them. Now, the flip side is go look at Turkey. They do that too. For as much as, we want to question, or they want to put out this narrative questioning Hungary, well, Turkey's in the same boat. They talk to Russia just as much. They've had meetings with him. They partner with them, etc. So, maybe they're just taking a bill out of their playbook, so to speak, and trying to mimic them, just like Turkey was the holdout on Sweden too. So, but that's the narrative. Yesterday it was China. Today it's Russia.
Yeah, and why in the first place do they have the story yesterday? Chinese police, Chinese helping with policing Hungary. It is a NATO country. That is our adversary. That's just nuts. And then NATO, the whole purpose of NATO is to fight against Russia. And now you've got close ties with Russia? It's absurd. And then in the Arctic, the U.S. military doesn't have the icebreakers to compete in the Arctic and is severely outnumbered by Russia, Commander warns. I and a bunch of others called this 2.5 years ago from Fugel family members in the military. They said that we got an awesome call talking about how they went to a briefing about this very subject, that we didn't have enough icebreakers. The icebreakers are the big ships that can actually kind of go up and then slam down on the ice and clear routes. Meanwhile, Russia and China have been investing heavily, especially Russia. Russia's been investing in this. They take the Arctic. That's a huge strategic, as far as the waterways they can make with it. They can also trade with China. They can do all sorts of stuff with this. They can turn this into a highway that they control. The U.S. does not have enough icebreaker ships to compete in the Arctic the way that Russia can with its much larger fleet. It's like we have so much money bleeding out the ears to other countries, and it's like, how are we behind on anything like this? Why are we in a situation where we can't make our own antibiotics? Why are we have enough lithium in and under us to be able to do everything ourselves, but we don't? There's so many things that we depend on other countries, and it's all because of money. It's all because of greed. It's all because of get everything for the cheapest possible, make the most money possible. It's just so stupid that we don't fix things until after they're broken. But the Arctic, if there's a World War III, the Arctic's going to play a part in it, a huge part. And then in Poland, Russia jams GPS of jet carrying Grant Shapps on a trip to Poland. Again, Shapps being minister, right? It says Russia jammed the global positioning system signal of the Grant Shapps official jet on a round trip to Poland. Mr. Shapps, the defense secretary, was traveling on the RAF's Envoy, a Dassault 900X, to visit troops in Mazury, a military base near the Belarus border, when the aircraft's pilots lost access to the GPS. So some comments said, well, yeah, if you go near a war zone, then you might lose GPS because there's electronic warfare going. But some others said that they believed this was on purpose, that it was actually targeted at them. Mind you, it's losing GPS on a plane. I don't know how big of a deal that is if you're a pilot. I believe there's ways, they can manually do things, but I believe that a lot of the newer jets, that's kind of a big deal. but the jet was passing Kaliningrad, a Russian territory between Poland and Lithuania, when the attack happened on Wednesday morning. On their return flight, Russia blocked the system again, this time for 30 minutes, as Mr. Shaps, who was accompanied by journalists, flew back to London on Wednesday evening. The plane's internal Wi-Fi was also temporarily down during both of the jamming attacks, so sadly, they could not access Twitter. But yeah, it's I guess it's not, one little mistake, something a little bit harsher, could have caused a big problem. And then Britain shows off a laser weapon that could take out drones for as little as $13. Talking about some Star Wars stuff here. And I believe the $13 talking about the power and everything it takes, right? UK's Ministry of Defense has released new footage of its laser weapon Dragonfire being tested. I love how they named it Dragonfire, right? The video showed the laser-directed energy weapon, or LDU, system successfully shooting an aerial target in tests off the coast of Scotland in January. The weapon has proven itself in testing and has the very real potential for its to transform the UK's defense capabilities. What are the downsides of lasers, though? Like, what if, can electronic warfare knock out the power to something like this? Like, if they heavily had all of this, geared towards lasers, could they then come up with something to hack it or to control it or to knock it out? Obviously, they would make it so it's protected, but, is there weaknesses to doing this? If you're military and let me know.
Well, I would think that right off the bat, the technology alone is a weakness because it's very complex, right? It's very fragile. As we've heard from our own Navy, saying that to run one of the laser systems, they need literally the parts of 3 because they're constantly having to replace stuff on it. And then, as we also reported with our Navy, they wanted to have a cartridge system for the power. I can't remember the term they used, but basically they wanted to be able to, charge up multiple devices so they could just put one in, fire, and then put another one in and fire, and put another one in and fire. The downside of this is it's a great shot, but if you miss, you got to wait a half an hour for the power to build back up to fire it again. It doesn't say a half an hour. I don't know how long it is, but the point is it's not instantaneous, or it's only good for so many shots until it's out of power.
Yeah, it's not something like out of Star Wars. They can't just, it's not just pew, pew, pew. And then we have Virginia. Navy fires USS Ohio submarine commanding officer. We've covered a bunch of these, and there's been a lot that we have seen that was usually under the category of they've lost confidence. And guess what? Another one. We actually called this, we've talked to you guys about this, the due to a loss of confidence in their ability to command. We found that over the last 3 years, there's been an insane amount of people fired due to this cause exactly. Due to a loss of confidence, thank you. Due to a loss of confidence about their service, right? It could be as simple as they support a certain person, or at least that's what people think. That somebody like this, say they post something on Facebook or something that, they support this person. Apparently in the military, if you support the previous president, you keep that to yourself because you might be on the chopping block if you say otherwise. That is just what people have said. That's what military members have said. They have also said that if you have criticisms about any of the new changes that the military has made, requiring being able to add makeup and things like this to certain sides of the military, then they might not be confident in you anymore. Navy commanding officers are held to high standards of personal and professional conduct. Crazy enough, I saw literally one like in spiky high heels doing a freak dance like last month or something. But hey, I guess it's their standards, not just general standards. And dead satellites falling to Earth could weaken its magnetic field. Just a real quick reminder, go over and check out Energy if you want a suggestion for a solar generator, marfooglenews.com/energy. You have to get them soon. It takes a long time to get these to you. Again, there's a few month wait, but it is our recommendation for the best solar generator on the market. And as far as if it will work, this is the same generator that the U.S. Army has ordered. They just won the STTR Phase 2 contract. The Army doesn't care if it's pretty or this or that. They care if it turns on and if it turns on every time. That's why you go with an Energy, because of the quality, the parts, the expandability, the modulability, and it's not a company that's a front for something, going directly back to an adversarial country, which if you are in the market, you will see basically one competitor that stands out, and you go, oh, I can get that on Monday. Well, on Thursday, if the power goes out, will you be able to turn it on? That's the big question. Not to mention, is it the best quality? Probably not. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. And then dead satellites falling to Earth could weaken its magnetic field. Dex, how could this actually weaken our magnetic field? How are they explaining that?
Well, and I think they're also picking on Musk. This is one of those articles that goes against Elon. But there's a finding in a new paper from physicist Sierra Salter Hunt, who warns of the effects of the dangers growing of satellite mega constellations, such as those launched by Elon Musk's SpaceX. So what they're suggesting is the spacecraft dust from the defunct satellites that burn up in the atmosphere could create a magnetic dust to cut our planet's protective shield in half, as they described it. As well as it could probably do other things they're describing in the article to the actual atmosphere itself. So, right now, when a satellite reaches its end of life, it typically slowly makes its way back down to Earth, as it no longer has the ability to maintain its position, and it just gets burnt up in the atmosphere. Most of them, as you typically see, they look like they're made out of a roll of Reynolds wrap and some string and duct tape, but that kind of stuff burns up fairly quickly, and we don't really worry about them landing on Earth because they just get vaporized in the process of coming through the atmosphere. So the onesie twosies here that happen over the years is not as a big a deal, but when you've got thousands and thousands of these and they reach their end of life and they start to come in, do they create a problem? And when they're talking about building these grids of satellites where they're literally paving the skies all the way around the Earth with thousands of satellites, or maybe even hundreds of thousands of satellites over time, what happens as those recycle their way back down and they replace them with new ones? What is the net effect of that burn up? I think that's what they're suggesting here. Are you certainly poking at Elon, though? Are you saying, and I know
any opportunity, it's kind of like T-Man when he was in office. It's like, oh, there's a hurricane. It's Trump's fault. Somebody, did you say Reynolds wrap? Are you saying that satellites look like Reynolds wrap? Because
don't everything we ever see that goes in space looks like it's made out of like aluminum foil?
Oh yeah, literally. And I think a lot of the critics of NASA, it's like you look at the stuff that they say is like, this is rocket science, right? And it literally looks like something that's like a 4th grade science project that's duct taped together. I guess they say it's the material or whatever, but what I don't understand is they always do stuff that has like no panels, and I guess it's because of the weight and launching it up, but almost everything is like exposed, wires everywhere. It's almost like if it was fake, they would be like, oh, well, they're stupid. If they see a bunch of wires, they'll think it's real. Maybe this goes back to the Caesar, like, well, the system's not broke, so let's don't fix it, Let's just make it look really, technical. Put a bunch of wires everywhere and put some yellow and warning signs and little stickers that say caution, metal stuff. I don't know.
But Hollywood would never do that. That's the problem. Is we're exposed to Star Wars and Star Trek, right, and other great sci-fi films where everything is just beautifully built and massive and cool and
Paneled.
strong and structural and paneled and whatever. I mean, even if it was a satellite, it's still going to look cool, or the Death Star or whatever. But in reality, this stuff is just super lightweight, tiny. Like you said, put together with duct tape and aluminum foil. And I know I'm probably pissing off somebody that works at JPL somewhere that's like, that's not true. We spend millions of dollars on this fancy pieces of material that have to go into that. And I'm sure you do, and that's fine. You guys do that. To me, it looks like aluminum foil.
I forget what the material is. It's a stone. What is it? Dico. Gosh, it's actually. Oh my gosh. It's a weird word. It starts with a dico something. It's a material that jewelry makers will put, and if you guys know this in the chat, it actually was invented by NASA to be a heat resistant like sheath cover, but now they put it in jewelry and it has a really iridescent kind of look to it when you put it in glass. Oh my gosh. If anybody knows what that is, it was designed by NASA. It's what the heck is that called? And they put it in glass, dichroic glass. Thank you. Distinctive word, distinctive dyer, do-it-yourselfer. Yes, dichroic glass. You got it. Dichroic, whatever. You guys totally got it. From my stupid description, you guys got that. Yeah, dichro glass. But that stuff is so trippy. It's like stuff like that. You don't see that on the satellites. I guess it wasn't good enough. They were like, oh no, but the tinfoil will work. And put a hat on it. All right. Yeah, make sure, again, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and watch our other video over on Marfoogle News. That video will be right here. All you have to do is click this link right here. Join us on Jams. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Make sure to thank your mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. Lots of great people over there. Just click on the Friends tab. Boom, boom, boom. Have a good night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's time for the shoutro. It's not a outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Bullets and the people trying to end you. First thing that drops into the windows. At Target, Walmart, trying to get Nintendos.
Terry, are you spy? Maybe get the bento.